what I want to do now is just give you an overview of the books that you'll be required to read over the course of the semester. This is a survey course in adolescent literature, so you're going to be reading quite a bit of adolescent literature. So here we go. The first book that you're going to read, or not necessarily in this, I will say you're not necessarily going to read them in this order. This is alphabetical order by author. So you're going to read Speak by Laurie Halsey Anderson. This is a great award-winning piece of adolescent literature. Part of the reason I put this on your required reading list is that it is often challenged in schools. It's about a freshman in high school named Melinda. She's entering high school, and she's had a traumatic experience occur the summer prior to her freshman year, and this is about how she copes with that. Next, you're going to read 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. 13 Reasons Why is about a young adolescent male who receives a box of cassette tapes at school. The cassette tapes were created by a classmate who committed suicide, and these cassette tapes explain the 13 reasons why she did what she did. Next up on the list, El Defoe by Cece Bell. This one is really aimed at middle grade readers. This is a graphic novel. You need to know it's a graphic novel. And the genre is really memoir. This talks about Cece Bell's life as an elementary school child who had hearing disabilities. She wore a hearing aid in school, and so it kind of talks about her experiences as a child with a hearing loss. Next up is Mexican White Boy by Matt de la Pena. Matt de la Pena, interestingly, won the Newbery Award in January of 2016 for his picture book, which is called Last Stop on Market Street. That was his first foray, really, into the realm of picture storybooks. He has one other one, but Last Stop on Market Street got lots of critical acclaim. Anyway, this Mexican White Boy is one of his novels aimed at adolescents. And it's when you hear him talk about it, it's a little bit autobiographical. It is a work of fiction, but it has some autobiographical pieces in it. Next on the list is George by Alex Gino. This is about a young transgender child, a child who feels like he or she was born in one body, but inside is actually a different gender. It's about a fourth grade student. Pretty eye-opening. It is a work of fiction, but it makes you think differently. I'm looking forward to discussing this book with you. Every Day by David Levithan. This is a great work of science fiction. I've had students who have read it in the past who have compared it to the television show Quantum Leap. It is about a 16-year-old named A. We don't know anything more than the character's first initial, because this character wakes up every day in the body of a different 16-year-old. So some days A is in the body of a boy, some days A is in the body of a girl. And it's all about how A navigates this life he or she is living and how he or she deals with being in a different body every day. Very interesting. Monster by Walter Dean Myers. Sadly, we lost this great author about a year ago, but this is one of his many award-winning books for young adults. Monster is about a young man on trial and what's going on during that trial and filming it and that kind of thing. How Reading Changed My Life. This one is not a piece of young adult literature. This is the first book that you're actually going to read. This is a memoir by a journalist named Anna Quinlan, and it's all about what reading has done for her as a person. So you guys are going to read this one first as a way to start to jumpstart your thinking about your own reading biographies, your own literacy journeys. Persepolis, The Story of a Childhood by Marjane Satrapi. This is another graphic novel. It is also a memoir. The author of this book grew up in Iran, and it's all about her experiences growing up in that culture, which is much different from ours. It was also made into an award-winning movie, a short film, I believe, an animated film. But it's a graphic novel that looks at a pretty serious topic. Even though it's a memoir, there's a lot of serious topics that are touched on in this book. I think you'll be surprised. It also gives kids a lot of background knowledge about cultures from the Middle East that are maybe different from theirs. Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. Ruta Sepetys writes historical fiction. She's written 3 pieces of historical fiction so far. This is her third piece. This is set during World War II, and it's a fictional story that revolves around an actual incident that occurred in World War II, where a passenger boat, a luxury boat, was used to transport refugees from different countries in Europe, and what happened when that boat was torpedoed. This next one is a piece of informational text. It's nonfiction. Bomb, the Race to Build and Steal the World's Most Dangerous Weapon by Steve Shankin. Award-winning book, all about the race to build the atomic bomb. And it even though it's a piece of nonfiction informational text, it really reads very much like a story. That's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this book, is its narrative feel. And it talks about many players who were involved in the race to build the atomic bomb, not just the Americans, but it also looks at Germans and Russians and others. Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This is another memoir, yet this one is told in narrative verse. Won the Newbery Award a couple of years ago. Brilliantly written book. Woodson tells the story of her own childhood growing up as a child who had one foot in the North and one foot in the South during the Civil Rights era. So she experienced the Civil Rights era as a brown girl, as an African American, with homes in both the North and the South. So she saw both sides. In addition to those required books, you are going to select one book by Holly Black. Holly Black writes all kinds of novels for kids and for teens. Doll Bones. She's written The Darkest Part of the Forest. She's written different fairy books. She's co-author of the Spiderwick Chronicles. So you may choose one book by Holly Black. Let's see. I also I'll put this PowerPoint into Blackboard so you can locate it, because these pages that I'm sharing with you for Holly Black, Chris Crutcher, Tom Engelberger, and John Green all have links on them to the author's pages, so that you can look at their corpus of books. Chris Crutcher is another author for whom I would like you to read one book. He's the author of Staying Fat for Sarah Burns, Deadline, Whale Talk, a number of books. I put Chris Crutcher as one that I would like you to explore, because Crutcher, he's very active on Twitter. He has a large corpus of books, excuse me. And he works with troubled teenagers. So a lot of his stories emanate from things that he has experienced in his work with teens. He has a different perspective on adolescence than many of us do as teachers. I'd also like you to read a book by John Green. He's the author of course, now I can't think of the name, The Fault in Our Stars. He's the author of The Fault in Our Stars, as well as Looking for Alaska and Abundance of Catherines, co-author of Will Grayson. I chose John Green for your list because of his writing style. ability and his extensive vocabulary. Every time I read a book by John Green, I learn new words. His craft is amazing. He and his brother Hank are both very active on YouTube, and they are just a wealth of knowledge. So I want you to read one of his books. And then finally, I would like for you to read one book by Tom Engelberger. So Engelberger writes more for middle grade students, which falls under the scope of adolescent literature. Especially his Origami Yoda series. However, if you find a different book by Tom Engelberger and would like to read that, that's fine. But his Origami Yoda series has humor on several different levels, not just for adolescents. They're humorous to adults as well because they're a little bit tongue-in-cheek and kind of are a commentary on the field of standardized testing, the world of standardized testing in which we are currently living. So those are going to be your required readings for the semester. And next time we are together online, we will talk more about the syllabus requirements.